this morning. First of all, what about Matumaini, so that we get to the conversation?
Matumaini Rehabilitation.
It's Matumaini, right?
Yeah,
yes, Matumaini, yes.
Yeah. We are located in Molo, Nakuru County, in Kenya. So we are an institution that is under PEFA churches, and we work and deal with children and youths with disabilities. So we deal with all types of disability. There are different types. We have cerebral palsy, we have spina bifida, we have clubfoot, cleft lip, and there are so many types of disabilities. And of course, other children and youths have multiple disabilities in one. So basically, we work with people with disability.
Right. Well, this confining the aspects of law, because we understand that we also have the Disability Act in Kenya, and therefore for an entity to decide that they are always going to take care of the few persons that you have mentioned, then it is very, very important that they align themselves with the Disabilities Act. And therefore, I'd love to understand this then, of course, given a clean bill of health by the laws and the acts of the land, and in relation to the same, what are some of the critical things that we look at before we decide that this body then will be taking care of persons with disabilities, you know, away from their own home, the places that they've been born?
For you to be able to be a registered charitable organization, you definitely have to go through several stages, and that includes the children's office, you have the social services, you have the court, the police department. Basically, you involve all the sectors involved in the government. So, because the last part where you are given a certificate as a charitable institution, it has to be approved by the government that you are an institution now registered to do charity work.
Okay.
Yeah, so you have to follow all the entities.
And so you speak of different categories of persons with a disability, and all under the entity that is Matumaini Rehabilitation Center. What goes into getting these children or these persons into the space of Matumaini?
Basically, we rescue children who have been abandoned by either their mothers or their relatives and all that. So we can rescue children. Number two, they can be given to you by the children's department or the social services. And number three, the parents or the relatives bring their children to you, so that because most parents and the relatives, wherever they are, maybe the terrain does not allow them to take this child to school, and then we're in a position where we have a primary school, we have a secondary school around, and then we are an institution, so we are able to facilitate these children to go to school. So if the parents feel like they cannot take their children to school, they bring them to our place. They attend schools. When the schools close, they go back home.
Oh, that's amazing. That really is good. You speak of the terrains and the fact that you know, you find some of these terrains that are not favorable for persons with disability. I mean, this then brings us to the conversation of care. Very, very important. When you talk about caring for persons with disability, just how of magnitude is this, and what exactly do we mean?
Caring for people with disability is a very big task. It's not a simple task. Any person who has a child with disability or a relative or anyone close to them will truly understand that dealing with a person with disability, especially multiple disabilities or cerebral palsy and sometimes spina bifida. Those are conditions that you can, if you have a child with cerebral palsy, you cannot even go out. You have to take care of this child fully, because a severe cerebral palsy child will not be able even to eat, cannot sit down, cannot do anything. So you have to be there for 24 hours to take care of that child, because you have to fully take care of that child. So basically care for people with disability is a big thing. That means now you need wheelchairs for the people with cerebral palsy, the people with shorter limbs, the lower limbs are not working. You need a lot. You need, when we talk, you need ramps.
Right.
Yeah, so there's just so much that we are supposed to do as a person, as a community, as the government. It involves all the stakeholders.
And then there's been a difficulty, and now that you mentioned something to do with the wheelchairs and the ramps, I remember there's a time we're celebrating, sometimes last year, and I hope that this year also we get into the same, or should be early this year, we're celebrating, World Wheelchair Day. And the biggest concern today in the country for persons that are using wheelchairs is that access for the same is a big, big problem. How difficult or how easy is it for you as an institution? Do you have an edge over those ones that will be individuals, or are there special programs? Is there facilitation that comes from stakeholders, from the government?
Sometimes when we apply from the government, we've got donations like 2 times. So there, if you are lucky, you'll get the donation from the government. So because the government provides that, you can apply for it. And then if you are lucky, you will get, not all the institution, because I mean, Kenya it's so big. We have so many people living with disabilities. So we've applied with the government and we got, and you can also work with Kijabe, whereby they come and assess your children and your youth and maybe people with disability around, and then they can give you a wheelchair at 5,000. That is now maintenance and for the maintenance fee. Yeah, and also AIC Kajiado, they also help with that. So that is because they are just helping. Okay. Yeah, so that means not all the times that these wheelchairs will be there. Okay. But normal wheelchair in a shop will go for at least 20,000, which is not affordable to any other normal person. Yeah. Yeah, so you see, some will go, that is just a normal wheelchair for 20,000. So a specialized wheelchair will definitely go higher. Because if you have a condition that doesn't fit the wheelchairs that are provided, you will find out that you will need to, they will need to assess you again, and then they customize that wheelchair according to your need, and that makes it very expensive. So affording wheelchairs and other devices has not been easy, especially in our country, but we thank God because we are trying, and we are where we are today.
And you're doing a good job, I must admit. And you mentioned that you deal with persons that are able differently in many ways. I can imagine how difficult it can be if a family can find it hard to handle one kid, one child, one grown-up person, and just how different and how of a challenge is it for you as an institution to have all these persons that are able differently in one space, and managing all of them that would require special needs in special ways? It's not been easy, because talking of our institution, Matumaini Rehabilitation Center, we have some of the youths that have grown in the institution since they were at a very young age until now. Some of them are over 30 years. And as if you were reading my mind, because my next question was on the question of age. Yeah, so you find out that these children who are now youths, they have multiple conditions and they cannot go anywhere. So they belong to the institution, which has been a major challenge, because in case of sickness, in case of death, you as an institution has to take care of those children because they were abandoned at a young age. We cannot trace their parents. We can, So, but now what we are doing now, according to the government regulations, when you are bringing in a child, you must be able to trace the background, so that at a certain age of between 18 to 25, this child will know where
he or she came from, you'll be able to take them back to their relatives and their families. But initially, before these laws were not there. So you find out that the children and the youth that were taken in the past, in the 90s, because our institution started in 1986. So there are those children who were taken back then to the institution. They are still there today. Some of them have already left because they had just physical disabilities. But now the major disability that is a challenge in our institution, and of course in the whole country, is mental disability. A person with mental disability, there is nothing much you can do. And of course cerebral palsy too, severe cerebral palsy. So you find out that there is nothing much you can do with this child. You only have to take care of that child and try to improve the child. Single steps, and others will never get to another stage because of the condition, the severity of the condition.
And you speak of these steps, and we all understand right from childhood there's that aspect of development, and there are special programs to make sure that these children then are grown into children that can really understand some of these things, and their development is totally different from any normal child. Just what goes into that, and how much of a task is it, and how much is there need for us to have professionals so that they can be able to help these children develop with some edge or some essence of understanding?
It's very, very important to have this training. You train your staff, you train your parents, you train the caregivers of that child on how to love this child first. 2 is to accept the child, and number 3 is to live with the child. Because now a child with like severe cerebral palsy, I'll just be using that as an example, because I have so many of them in my institution who cannot do anything, and we literally have to take care of them in all walks of their lives. So you find out that this child has not sat down, the neck is not even stable. This child cannot stand, cannot do anything. So they cannot even tell you they are hungry, they cannot cry, they are just there. So it is about you to teach your staff that at this particular time, this child is supposed to eat, this child is supposed to go for physiotherapy, because we do that. So we teach our staff how to do physio, because we have a government physio who comes in, but we have also been empowered as an institution, so that when the person is not there, we can still continue with the therapy. And also we have an organization known as CDSK, which has also been, it is Cheshire Disability Services Kenya. It has also been a major help to us as an institution, because it has helped us grow. Because of the trainings, they have been training us on the disabilities. So they trained the staff, they have empowered the board of management, and that has also been helpful to us as an institution. So you see, without this knowledge, you cannot learn how to love
Let's talk about that knowledge, which is very, very important, at least deep, And sometimes there are families that decide, well, we're going to keep our very own child, we're going to try and learn them, we're going to try and, just as well get information on how we can have, we can give them care in the best way possible. And like you rightfully put it, love is one of the key things that is required. What are some of the major, aspects and characteristics do we require to have for caregivers at the family level and even at institution levels for these persons that are living or are persons with disability?
First, you must have a lot of love in you. You must love what you do. You must love children. You must love. I mean, the basic background is love, so that when you love, you will accept them. Because they are not an easy they are not easy people to deal with and to work with. So a person who does not love those children will not be able even to work in an institution or an organization for people with disability, because that person maybe just needed a job, and now this is a very difficult job. You see, you have an adult at the age of 20, 25, and then you have to be changing diapers for that child. So not so many people will be able to survive that. So you must learn how to love.
That's interesting. How important is counseling in this case? And I don't know whether you have counseling sessions that you'd oftenly attend, maybe as staff for purposes of these children, and the attachment then that grows thereafter. How does one get to manage the same?
You get there are counseling sessions for us and for our staff, and of course for the youths, the children and youths in the institution. So we make sure that we attend these sessions every now and then you also get to talk to your staff and listen to them. What are they saying? Is there an issue? Is there a challenge they are facing? And all that. And of course, with the attachment, it's not, in fact, when a person works with people with disability, you will not want to work in any other place.
Is it?
You
there's an attachment. You
become so attached with them because they are so good. They listen to you and they pray for you, and so, and when you are talking to them and you see the happiness they feel when they see you and they're like, "Hi madam, I prayed for you, hi madam." So that makes you feel so good and you just want to be near them.
You speak of others that are always going home and coming back. I can imagine the processes, the transition processes, or maybe these breaks, and how difficult it can be, because then the attachment is there, and as well there is the other side, and sometimes you find that the treatment on the other side is totally different from the treatment back here. Are there instances where there are sessions between, say, you as a facility and the families to these ones that bring their children, say, for schooling sessions and all that? And I mean, just how do you break that crash that comes along with that split for a moment?
We make sure that we have home visits, so that when the child is at home, we visit them at their home. So we get to learn where they are, what they do, how are their toilets, what is their terrain and all that, so that we make sure that this child is also in good condition at home, because we cannot always keep the child in the institution. So because of that now, because of the home visits, we have learned to now talk with the parent. So we advise them, if they don't, you see, the toilet seats are not affordable to everybody. So we just tell them, we show them how to customize the seats that a person with a wheelchair will be able to sit on. And we do that often with our parents. We advise them. We look at their terrain and then we tell them, now this one you have to dig a little, make it straight. This you have to change this. Your door is so small, you need to do this, you need to widen it and all that. So with the home visits now, it has been possible, because I remember sometimes back we went to another home and we were taking a child and the child didn't want to eat the food at home. Which was so wrong. And that is when we felt, no, maybe we are doing something better than what the parents are doing. So we felt, so that is when we started doing that transition process now.
Well, interesting. And I know there's a lot that we can speak of as pertaining to the needs of persons with disability, their care, and making sure that we integrate them into society and accepting them as they are. But again, I'm sure you as a specialist could be having those extra tips that you would want to give people this morning, whether it's at a space back at home or whether it's on such facilities. It is very, very important for us to have proper and an extra understanding as to how to handle them. Before we come to a close, what are the take homes, and just how important is it for us as society to appreciate and embrace persons that are able differently?
As a society, we need to do away with the stereotypes that disability is as a result of witchcraft, is a result of maybe incest, is all that. So as a society, the first thing is to accept disability happens, and it can happen to anybody. Are
you stigmatized as an institution that perhaps maybe if you are to mention to someone that, you know, I am GOtv and a director at Matumaini Rehabilitation Center, and this is what we do there, do you face some essence of stigma, you know, say professional stigmatization, because then you're looked at as a person who deals with, you know, persons with difficulties, and, you know, this can really be labeled differently? At a professional level, yes, I haven't been stigmatized. In fact, they really appreciate what we do. All right. It's not an easy task. They will tell you it's not an easy job. You're doing a great job. Okay. Yeah. So as a person, I haven't been stigmatized. But children, so many children and their parents are stigmatized back in the society, by the community members, by the relatives and all that. So which has made it so difficult for even a parent to be bringing out the child who has a disability to people. That child you find out that the child cannot even interact with the other children her age or his age. So as a society, stigmatizing that child is not good for the child, for the parents or the caregivers at large. So people should know that disability can happen to anybody, anytime. So, and because you can just have an accident today and then you're in a wheelchair for the rest of your life. So disability basically is not something that should be stigmatized. We should accept disability, should be part of us, and that is what we are advocating for. That's good. The stakeholders, and especially the government, the legislators, we have seen members of parliament that are nominated to parliament to hold that capacity of advancing the agenda of persons with disability and their interests and their needs. Do you suppose they are doing their best in terms of, you know, creating a safe space for persons that are able differently? We have the best legislation. We have the best laws about disability in our country. They are the best laws, but at the implementation level is where now there's a problem. But the constitution and all the laws that are made, they are the best in the country. Well, thank you so much for speaking to us this morning. GOtv, Director Matumaini Rehabilitation Center, and like many other people, I'll tell you that you're doing a great job. Keep up the good work. Again, we say that we all know that it's not an easy task, but I believe that these persons aware should be accorded, you know, a fair space of life, and therefore that's exactly what it is that we're doing. As we're having this very, very important conversation on how best we can take care of persons with disability, it's good for you to research and understand some of the basics of this, because you never know, and like, you know, the director here would argue, everyone is a candidate to this, that you do not know what tomorrow holds. So we keep hope alive, we keep praying, but above everything, please do not stigmatize them. Let us make the world a better place for everybody. We close this conversation.